Are you serious? Are you serious? Now, guys, sometimes I get people send me all kinds of reports of things that have been seen in the sky, or crop circles, or different types of paranormal kind of stuff, unexplained really. What am I going to do with it? But I didn't realize that just 20 miles from where I'm sitting in Crawfordsville, Indiana, in 1891, there was an event that took place that was so spooky that it captivated many people across the nation. It's called the Crawfordsville Monster. Well, really, what was it? And a pastor, a Methodist preacher, saw it. He and his wife really, and hundreds of others of people really gave some credence to this whole story. It happened about 2 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, September the 5th, 1891, in the Crawfordsville Ice Delivery Men. Marshall McIntyre and Bill Gray were preparing their wagon for morning rounds when suddenly a feeling of awe and dread came over them. Peering heavenward, the men saw a horrible apparition. It was about 18 feet long, they said, and 8 feet wide, and it moved rapidly through the air by means of several pairs of side fins. It was pure white, and it had no definitive shape or form, resembling somewhat of a great white shroud fitted with propelling fins. There was no tail or head visible, but there was one great flaming red eye. It had a sort of a wheezing sound emanating from its mouth, but there was no mouth visible. It flapped like a flag in the wind as it came on, and frequently gave a great squirm as though suffering some kind of agony. Both McIntyre and Gray observed this phenomenon hovering 300 or 400 feet, they said, in the air above them for nearly an hour before they retreated to the safety of the barn. They then quickly finished harnessing their horses and left that vicinity. Now, there was a large article was printed about the spook, the strange phenomenon that took place there in Crawfordsville, Indiana. And there was more articles written. It said that what Tom O'Shanter saw on his famous ride, discounted this morning about 2 o'clock by what Marshall McIntyre and Bill Gray saw. They were at the hour at the barn of William Martin on the East Main Street there in Crawfordsville, hitching up the team to the ice wagon, leaving for the ice house. While standing in the alley back of the stable, Mr. McIntyre suddenly felt this strange sensation of awe and dread coming over him, and looking up, he saw the horrible sight. And it was that frightening to these guys. Okay? Well, we went ahead and we read on. I did some more research on this and found out about the preacher. And that was the Reverend G.W. Switzer. It says, he beholds at midnight an alarm. It seems that Marshall McIntyre and Bill Gray were not the only witnesses of this mysterious apparition, which hovered over the city of Crawfordsville, Indiana, from midnight on Friday till the early morning dawn of Saturday. Several others witnessed the ghostly visitor and were also completely mystified both by its appearance and its actions. The Reverend G.W. Switzer of the Methodist Church there in Crawfordsville saw it, and his story is rather interesting. Shortly after midnight, he stepped into the darkness out the back door to get a drink of water out of the well. As he stood there, a strange, weird sensation crept over him. And although he was unable to say whether he was attracted by any sound or not, he suddenly felt the attention drawn upward. And raising his eyes with the full expectation of beholding something, he saw what both puzzled and astonished him. The night was very dark and very still, No breath of air, very strange, was stirring. But propelled by some unseen force, he saw sweeping toward him from the southwest this apparition. It was about 16 foot long, he said, 8 foot wide, resembling the mass of a floating drapery, a shroud. It was white like milk. It was much too low to be a cloud and too far and way too swift. Besides, there was no wind at all. It seemed to work about as it swam through the air in a wreathing, twisting manner, similar to the glide of some type of serpent. Mr. Switzer called out his wife, and they watched it until it got just east of the church, when it began to descend as though about to land in the yard of Mrs. J.M. Lane. They then lost sight of it for the moment, but Mr. Switzer proceeded into the street, saw it rise again, and he had his wife then watch it circle about town for some time. Finally, tiring and going into the house with the strange phenomenon still visible. Mr. Switzer is wholly unable to account for it, but is satisfied that it was not the Shawnee Mound ghost that's known in that area. V.Q. Irwin says that it was a spirit, while the unkindest remark of all was made by a professor, Robert Burton, who gravely gives as his opinion that it was a delusion, which got on the optic nerve of those men who had been watching it. Other people were told that you must be intoxicated with intoxicants, okay, or drunk. So, all right, so here's the deal. You have these two guys hitching up the wagon. You have the Methodist preacher and his wife. You have a couple other people who see it, a professor, others. But then their story goes on. The spook comes back the next night. This time, hundreds of people in Crawfordsville, Indiana, actually see the event. Some said it was like a ghost shrouded in a shroud. Others said it was, they called it a spook. So a lot of people were stunned by this thing. Nobody knows for sure just exactly what it was. This happened again September the 5th, 1891. Of course, others would say it was some type of UFO or maybe an extraterrestrial or from some other type of beast or monster that was appearing. I find it quite fascinating that that they all felt something, an awe, a dread. Okay, the fact that the preacher would be able to quickly discern that spirit and look up, knowing that something wasn't right, and also to him it was, was he looking at a spirit? Was it a demon of some sort? Because of the eerie feeling, while other people thought that it was, was it some type of phenomenon or some type of ghost or some type of demon? Or the one guy said he felt like it was a delusion. It was delusion. It was a spirit of delusion, basically. So, you think about these things, you study in the Bible, and you realize that the Bible does talk about there will come a strong delusion in the last days. And Jesus even talks about that there would be a time when men will be deceived. That would deceive the very elect if it were possible. We know that the Bible says in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, talks about the Antichrist, the wicked one, the son of perdition. It does talk about God would send a strong delusion, let people just go ahead and believe a lie and be damned. And of course, we know now technologically we can understand that maybe Project Blue Beam or some other type of new technology that could confuse people and make them think they see things that really aren't there. But this is 1891, guys. This is before the Wright brothers ever tried to peddle their way with that little aircraft into the air in 1903. This is before airplanes. This is before any kind of space or anything could fly. So what is this, and what did they witness? Or was the federal government already working on things like, I don't know, blimps or something? They all say it had fins, and it had one red eye, and it was white, and it slithered into the sky like a serpent, the preacher said, or it flapped like a flag, or it maneuvered and moved, and it hovered, and it they pretty well. So I don't know. I mean, could it be a spirit of some sort, some kind of demonic force from another, could it be one of the Satan's fallen ones disguised? Was it some type of a weird mist or fog or cloud that was just misunderstood? Or was it something just so unexplainable that we have to leave it there in Crawfordsville, Indiana, September 5th, 1891, the Crawfordsville monster. Unexplained, unknown, unannounced. I'll be back with more. Thank you for being a member of Patreon. Thank you for being a member of this Patreon channel. God bless all of you. I'll see you again. Give your life to Jesus Christ if you're out there watching this, because trust me, stranger things are going to happen in these end times.